This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Hot off the presses, the Edmonton Oilers have signed a goaltender that is a key piece of the Edmonton Oilers' future, one of which was kind of a question mark. We'll discuss more on that in a matter of moments, but a good signing nonetheless for the Oilers to give them that goaltending depth, that goaltending kind of reliability we need going into next season. Friends, I'm Tyson. Welcome to the channel. Good afternoon and glad to have you aboard as we get set up to talk about today's news. But before we get there, I want you to consider, if you're new to the channel, right? Some of you might be first time here, right? Breaking news, never been here, you're finding it for the first time. I'd like to ask you to consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV, sticking around for this whole off season of fun we got coming up, and of course another Edmonton Oilers season coming at you just like that. Wow, we're less than 100 days away, 99 according to the countdown on Oilers Nation, who, by the way, had an interesting day. You can go check that out on Twitter. I'm just going to make mention of passing and that, just nothing more on that. But friends, today the Oilers have made a signing, an RFA signing, by the way, and a goalie nonetheless, in Olivier Rodrigue. Now, I made right off the top a remark, where we were talking, well, his future was a little uncertain at the start of last year. And I think it was fair enough, right? The Oilers signed Calvin Pickard to a 2-year contract. Ryan Fanti was percolating in the system. Olivier Rodrigue, Ollie Rodrigue, whatever you want to call him. He goes by both, I think. But Ollie has become quite a fan favorite for Bakersfield, at least at this point. But he was coming in last season kind of on the outs with the Oilers organization, if that makes sense. He was coming off not a great year performance-wise in terms of goaltending numbers. The Oilers had signed, like I said, Pickard. Fanti seemed like a very, very important prospect to the Edmonton Oilers organization. And all the pressure was on Rodrigue to perform, or the Oilers might choose to go another way and kind of wish him the best and let him go. And of course, being an RFA, being in the situation the Oilers were in, it was going to be a kind of a tough call, at least at the start of the year. Then Rodrigue, throughout the year, really kind of showed why the Oilers needed to keep him around. And by playoff time, the Oilers recalled him to the NHL roster just to have him around as well. So it's kind of one of those things where he had one season that saved it for him, but also a season that proved why we needed to keep him, right? It's not necessarily that he had a season that saved him from being cut, more or less, but he also had a season where it proved why we need to keep him around and the promise that we see in this young goaltender, Olivier Rodrigue. So let me keep these graphics up here for a matter of moments. You see the cap hit. All of that is kind of not so important. It's a 1-year contract extension, 2-way contract for 2023. He was drafted in the second round way back in 2018. And oh, by the way, it carries a cap hit of $775, which is, again, league minimum, a very important number for those of you that have been following along this summer. So just to get you an idea of Olivier Rodrigue's number here and what we kind of need to know for him when it comes to, obviously, stats and all that. Let me just quickly get down here. Sorry, my bad. 2000 product, right? Drafted 62nd overall in the 2018 NHL Intra Draft. He's been in Bakersfield the past 3 seasons, bits and parts at least, about 29 games last year, or this past season. A total of 14 wins, 14 losses, 1 overtime shootout loss, and a .912 save percentage. So it was a very good season and a .277 goals against average for Olivier Rodrigue. So you compare that and talk about his numbers from last year: 309 in 13 games, 6-5-2, and an .886 save percentage. He definitely stepped up. He's a 6'1" goaltender, only about 158 pounds. So again, not a guy that's huge by any means in net, but he's starting to take form. And right at 23, 24 this next year, he's a guy that you want to have in your system simply because Ryan Fanti is going to be coming up to the AHL level this year to play his first big-time minutes at the AHL level. Played a few years back there when we went to the 3rd round. But again, Rodrigue is going to probably primarily be the Bakersfield Condors' starting goaltender, or what you would call your starting goaltender, because Calvin Pickard's going to be still there. And then, of course, Ryan Fanti's going to be splitting time as well. So you've kind of got this triple-headed goaltender monster at the AHL level, which is not uncommon, right? This is something that the Oilers have done over the past several years. This is something that the Oilers are very used to. You look back to the Stuart Skinner time in the minors, it's very similar to what's going on now. And you kind of, okay, what are we trying to do here? Well, we're trying to develop goaltenders, but we're also trying to give the team the best chance to win. Calvin Pickard, in my opinion, still does that for the Condors, and I think every Condors fan would probably agree. Olivier Rodrigue, if he steps in next year and does exactly what he did this year, same kind of option. And Ryan Fanti just has to learn the game, come along, and develop his goaltending at the next level next season. But you kind of have security to do that with 3 goaltenders. Why? Why do you need 3 goaltenders at the AHL level? Friends, what happens in the NHL? What happens in the AHL? What happens at every level of hockey every so often or all the time? Injuries, right? So again, Olivier Rodrigue was kind of on the outs at the start of last year, played his way into this contract, but also played his way into showing the Oilers that, hey, I'm something, you keep me. And that's what the Oilers did. But the Oilers also had an organizational need to keep a capable goaltender outside of Calvin Pickard at the AHL level, because Olivier Rodrigue probably doesn't qualify for waivers. I'm not sure how that all works out there. I know it's kind of different once you start aging too, even if you haven't played any NHL games. But you look at Calvin Pickard, he would be a waiver eligible player should the Oilers call him up and then have to send him back down if a goaltender gets healthy between Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell should they get injured. So when you break this all down, Olivier Rodrigue is your primary starting goaltender at the AHL level for much of the year, I would assume, right? He's your guy that gets, even if the pie is 40, 20, 20, he's your guy, or I guess that doesn't map out, sorry, 50, 25, 25. What was I trying to do there? But he's your primary guy that gets most of the starts, whether it be because of injuries, whether it be because of call-ups, whatever the case might be. I feel as though being the organizational number 4 going into next year, Olivier Rodrigue is primed to be getting those starts. And Ollie, obviously, I love the social media content that the Condors put out on this guy. I mean, this guy seems fun. This guy seems like he's very vibrant in net, and it seems like he's going to be a very good piece to have moving forward. And obviously on a 1-year, 2-way contract, right? You kind of see where I'm going, right? The Oilers, right, had a decision to make on him. They extend him another year to keep him around. And of course, another RFA gets signed. So you kind of knock off another piece of this offseason right here. The cap space doesn't matter because he'll be in the minors. It's league minimum if he finds himself in the NHL at some point. But it's really exciting to see the Oilers investing in draft capital that they've had around for a while, right? 2018 draft, you go back, that's the Evan Bouchard draft. He was our second rounder behind Evan Bouchard. So you're going all the way back there to try and, oh my goodness, yeah, hey, look at that. We've got a guy still around from that draft, and that's nice to see because Olivier Rodrigue has really been coming into his own over the past season, and we would love to see him. And I think this is a big victory for Bakersfield as well, because they had a goaltender that was struggling last season, comes into this past season, does well, gets rewarded, gets to stay around. And like I said, he's primed to be your primary starter in Bakersfield simply because he's the organizational number 4. So should injuries happen at the NHL level, it would figure Calvin Pickard goes up to back up and be a steady Eddie veteran figure if you need a backup goaltender at any given time. And then, of course, Olivier Rodrigue, your natural progression to take those starting minutes and those bigger minutes from Calvin Pickard. So that's where I see it shaping out, friends. A big day for the Oilers just to get another RFA off the board, sign him up. And hey, we signed a goaltender. Everybody's talking about we need goalies. We got one. Maybe not the one you were thinking. Maybe not the one you want. But you know what? Olivier Rodrigue, good to see him stick around with the team. And I'm excited to see what he can do moving forward in 2024, 2023. I did that backwards. It's been a long day. I'm going to head up on out of here. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV, up on, gone.